So the past few weeks have been really hectic but exciting as well. We closed our first ever study abroad expo in Hyderabad on 18th February. We saw over 2000 plus students coming in the venue, getting their queries resolved by meeting 30 plus university delegates, and it was hell lot of fun. I'll attach some clips and glimpses of the event somewhere in the middle or in the end of the video. And now we are back with another international student conversation. Today I have Subha with me, who has pursued her master's degree from George Brown University in Canada. We had a really detailed conversation with her. Just watch this video till the end to know everything about her journey of studying abroad. Now, if you are somebody who has study abroad dream and you are not able to attend our Hyderabad fair, don't worry. Just go at the description box, click on the first link, fill in your basic details, and our expert counselors will reach out to you very shortly. We have two very interesting offerings, the offer letter guarantee package and the visa guarantee package, so do not forget to check them out as well. Also, if you are new to the channel, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon. If you like the information we talked in this video, do not forget to hit the thumbs up button, comment your queries, and I will be responding to all your comments. Let's move ahead in the video. Hi Shubha, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well. Shubha, do you want to introduce yourself to the viewers?
Absolutely. So, hi, I'm Subah. I did my international business graduation in India. I went to Canada, studied at George Brown, did the strategic relationship marketing course, and then I worked for Pinterest there while I was in Canada, and then now I'm back in India.
Okay, perfect. Shubha, before I ask about the George Brown College, I have
Yeah,
just one question that you wanted to study strategic marketing, right?
yeah.
Why did you choose Canada for that matter? Why not other countries? Why not UK or US for that matter?
I think this was a matter of affordability, firstly.
Hmm.
Then I wanted to do this. To be very, very honest with you, I didn't want to go into the strategic relationship marketing course.
Okay.
I've always wanted to do the cooking course that George Brown has. And they have this,
Oh,
they have this amazing hospitality course, and they also have a beverage management course, which is very intensive. It's pretty great.
okay.
And I was told that I can't go do that because it's very hard to get visas when you don't follow your previous profile. So if my bachelor's is management, I would have to do a management course itself. And also because, when you meet with counselors, they give you quite an extensive background into how you're going to get a job there and how everything works, etc. It
Yeah.
made more sense to kind of keep following that in terms of getting a PR, or like if I wanted to stay there and all that. And
Hmm.
also, Canada is pretty affordable. If I
Right.
compare it with any other country, honestly, it was almost the same price as much as I paid for my graduation in India, which
Hmm.
is usually not the case for other foreign countries. It's very, very expensive.
Okay, while you were at the George Brown College, did you
Yeah.
had any chance to sneak peek into the cooking class or whatever your interest was?
No, not really. Like I was trying to, because a lot of people do another course, right? Like PGDMs are usually like 8 months to 12 months.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I did think about it the next year, but for me, I had a very different journey. I already had a job.
Hmm.
So I kept hearing how difficult it is to, get a permanent job and this and that, and it's hard and you need to fall into a particular knock and all that. For me, touch wood, I've always been very lucky that way, and I had a job already. So
Hmm.
it made absolutely no sense for me to, go back to a part-time visa again
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do it course. So I skipped that.
Okay. I wanna ask, what were your scores back in your graduation, and did you also give any language proficiency exam?
I did. So I'm not going to remember everything exactly
Hmm.
as to how it was. When I was in college in India, I think my score was around a 6.9.
Okay.
And then my IELTS in India, I remember was I had like 8.5, 8.577 is what
Okay.
I had. And
Okay.
then in Canada, I gave it again and I got a 8886. So that's my last IELTS score.
Acha. All right. That's a
Yep.
decent score. That was
Yeah.
also a decent band to be in. Cool. And while you were shortlisting the universities, were you
Hmm.
only targeting Canada from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only.
What all universities did you apply to? कहाँ से accepts आए, कहाँ से rejects आए? If you can take us through.
Yeah, honestly, I think so. For me, I never wanted to go to Toronto at all. I always wanted to go to British Columbia, and I tried a lot to get into those universities.
Hmm.
So I think their screening process is very different or whatever it was. Like I think they entertain a lot of undergraduate students mainly,
Yeah.
not really a lot of masters and all that. The first university I got into was TRU. So TRU is also
Okay.
one of those universities जिनके results सबसे पहले आते हैं. So बाकी acceptances हमेशा काफी late आती है. Thomson Rivers University is another hour, 2 hours away from British Columbia also. It's in Kamloops. So it's this kind of very, very secluded area. It's only a student town and it has a massive university. Now, this was also the only university जो आपको 2 साल का course देता है masters के लिए, which helps you with your points and all also. So generally, it's great. As a university, it's okay. It's not like, and also the area in itself, Canada वैसे भी कुछ ज़्यादा population नहीं है.
Right.
So Kamloops जाना है is a different kind of commitment altogether.
Right.
So that was the first one I got. First acceptance is always very exciting also, you know, like you don't know आगे क्या होगा, कौन सी से आएगा नहीं आएगा.
How did you react to your first acceptance letter?
It was very exciting. The only thing was my counselor was very kind of blah about it. Like he was like, you know, इससे अच्छा आ जाएगा easily.
अच्छा.
So like this is an okay one, but if you want to, because counselors का ये भी होता है कि the one I went through, उसका अब मेरे को I don't remember their name also anymore, but they weren't the kind of people where I was paying them anything. They were going to get paid from whatever university I went to.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know. So उनको ये होता है कि जितने बच्चे हमारे पास आ रहे हैं उसमें से जो फटाफट जाएगा कॉलेज में उनके लिए that's an advantage. So that's the first one I got, and I had like a month I think to decide, and they need you to pay your fees, and then a lot of those things happen. And that one I let go because I have a few family friends, so to say, in Canada, and we spoke to them, and they didn't really have a lot to say in terms of merit for the university. And I was like, कि चलो ठीक है, I'm going to skip this one out. Then I think उसके अलावा I applied to Langara.
Okay.
In BC, and that till date has never come through. I have not got like a denial also, acceptance also, nothing.
You did not. You just got ghosted by Langara.
Yeah, like nothing ever happened there. And then Toronto, I got into Centennial also, and I got into George Brown. And then similarly, we spoke to people we knew there, like friends of friends or like family friends, whatever. And a lot of them were very, very impressed with George Brown. And also my counselor to an extent was like, you know, this is a great university. I wasn't really expecting कि इसमें से आएगा and all that, but this is great. So don't even think about it. Go ahead. So that feedback came through not from like one person but 2-3 people. So I was also excited about it कि चलो ठीक है.
You gave you got the validation that you needed, and then you went through. Okay.
Yep. So I basically paid the money for that. That happened. Everything was smooth.
What all was required while you were applying for George Brown? How many SOPs? How many LORs?
I think LORs, as many as you have, always help. One though is necessary only. So you need something like so there's like this basic thing that your previous university, they're going to send your transcripts, and then they have like so I was from Amity. Amity has like a very proper process online where you just apply for your transcripts, etc. And they have a process where they're going to send your achievements, also everything. They send it directly to the university itself. So all that anyways goes. LOR, because for me, before I applied for my master's, I'd already worked in India also for 3.5-4 years.
Okay.
So I had worked here for 2-3 companies also, and I had my, letter of recommendations, and you have your letter of acceptance and other things you get to leave a job, right? So all relieving letter and all I had. So everything, like for me, I would say कि किसी की बात ऐसे नहीं सुननी चाहिए, कुछ भी गलत मत डालो कभी भी, कुछ ऐसा family business का डाल दिया, पापा से sign करा के, like not stuff like that. But अगर you worked anywhere at all and you have experience, बाद में if they find out from anywhere कुछ भी, like everything in Canada is basically always stays on your record. So even when you apply for like PR etc. also, they'll always have things that you've shared.
Right.
Whatever you've done, kabhi bhi, just everything. I remember sending literally every document I had. College के documents गए थे, ये documents थे, इसमें LORs थे. SOP मेरा एक ही था.
अच्छा.
Because they also expect, because for visa also and in general also, like there are a few people I have met also in my time in Canada where they're applying for different courses in different universities. मतलब फर्क नहीं पड़ता, कहीं पे भी हो जाए.
हाँ हाँ
कैसे भी,
हाँ हाँ।
And उसके लिए obviously you need multiple SOPs because you're convincing them for completely different things.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, but for me that wasn't the case. So for me it was a management line only. I
Hmm.
had already done business. I was going to do a specialization in that only. I
Right.
had my counselors were very helpful, etc. Sharing reference of kaisa hona chahiye, and
Hmm.
all the structure of it. It was hardly a one pager, I think,
Hmm.
of just explaining why I think that course would help and like why I would also be a good fit
Right.
for the university, and that was it.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. Now, your application process is done. You got the revert as well. What about the visa process? Was there any complication? Was there any challenge within your visa process? या कितने टाइम में तुम्हें वीजा मिला? If you can tell us that.
For us, it was very, very insane, honestly, because of COVID. But
Okay.
so
Right.
because
Right.
everything got shut. So
So, do you wanna tell the users ki which intake did you go in Canada with?
so essentially, I was supposed to go for 2020
Hmm.
September intake.
Hmm.
Then I pushed that to 2021 Jan intake. Then I
Okay.
finally went into 2021 September intake.
Okay. ठीक है.
जिसके बाद I
एक
could
साल
not have
पहले
deferred anymore.
या
हाँ,
एक साल पहले जाना था बट ऑलमोस्ट एक साल के लिए आपने
हाँ.
करा. ओके. परफेक्ट.
Yeah, and visa process also because it's been a while. I remember visa ke liye because also at that time, so this was very helpful for me. At our time, we would have a lot of these Facebook groups and
या
WhatsApp groups of
या
children going at the time. So there were
आई
like these
थिंक आई थिंक
ready-made kind of
या आई
yeah,
थिंक दे आर स्टिल वेरी एक्टिव द
yeah,
फेसबुक ग्रुप्स द यूट्यूब कम्युनिटी एज वेल द टेलीग्राम
hmm,
कम्युनिटी फॉर
yeah,
वीजा फॉर एनीथिंग. सो या
yep.
इट्स प्रीटी मच एक्टिव.
So we had like these massive messages with like pointers of these list of documents are needed. This is needed, that is needed. So that
Okay,
was very
if
helpful to
if
kind of cross check.
okay, sorry to interrupt, but if I ask you to give the viewers 5 important pointers for the visa process, what would that be?
Yeah, I honestly I don't know if I remember at this point, but I
You
would
can
say
you
all
can
your
say
documents, educational qualifications,
right.
your 10th, your 12th, your college graduation, your transcripts, all
Hmm.
your mark sheets from college, even
Hmm.
semester wise, all of that is very important. Your LORs, if you like for me, I had employment history. So all your
Hmm.
employment history, all your relieving letters, all your acceptance letters, all your offer letters also from
Hmm.
every job that you've done. All
Okay.
that is important. Then obviously like your passport. Also, I think if you have stamped visas from other countries and also all that, your printouts for that also go. There's
Okay.
a different pile of black and white you do. There's a different photo wala that you do. Then there's aisles, obviously. You
Hmm.
give your aisles ka, whatever your sheet comes, you have to share that also with them.
Hmm.
What else is there? Actually, I can look this up. I think I had this starred
Was
on my
was there was there any visa SOP required, or was there any interview required for the visa thing back in your
No,
time?
there was no interview at all. I've never given any interview except for the US visa. Canada visa के लिए आपको कोई भी interview नहीं होता है. But there is like you have to send all your documents across. There's biometrics that happen. So there's a series. I remember हमारे time पे ये था because COVID में process बहुत ही ज़्यादा delayed था. So
Hmm.
people would constantly keep sharing कि यार ये आएगा तुम्हारे पास. अगर ये आ रहा है तो I still remember because you log in and
हाँ.
आपको अपनी application दिख रही होती है. कि आपने
Right.
VFS पे ये एप्लीकेशन डाली हुई है एंड उसका एक स्टेटस होता है. सो आई
Hmm.
रिमेम्बर लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स जैसे इफ देयर 200 पीपल ऑन अ ग्रुप,
Hmm.
इफ 5 पीपल जस्ट गॉट अ रिवर्ट, आपको क्योंकि आपकी ईमेल पे पहले आता है दैट योर एप्लीकेशन हैज एन अपडेट, सो गो चेक योर एप्लीकेशन, दैट हैपेंस एंड देन यू लॉग इनटू VFS एंड आपको वो दिखाते हैं. सो अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल वुड जनरली शेयर दोज ईमेल्स विद अस कि
Hmm.
इवेंचुअली अगर ये अभी दिखा रहा है कि इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ 40 days 50
Hmm.
days, जो भी है उसके बाद फाइनली जब तुम्हारा एक्सेप्ट हो जाएगा उसमें ये आएगा.
Hmm.
तो
Hmm.
एप्लीकेशन सबमिट होती है आपके सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स के साथ. उसके अंदर आप सब डाल सकते हो. मतलब देयर इज ऑलरेडी भी होते हैं ऑप्शन जो वो मांग रहे होंगे, वो स्पेसिफाइड
Hmm.
होता है ऑनलाइन.
Hmm.
उसके बाद एडिशनल डॉक्यूमेंट्स का एक सेक्शन होता है. तो इफ यू फील यू वांट टू specify something, and one tip I would generally give is if at any point of time, this is from India also and Canada also, अगर आपको कभी भी लगता है कि मेरा ये डॉक्यूमेंट मेरे पास अभी नहीं है,
हाँ.
पेंडिंग है, बट कोई टाइमलाइन है, डेडलाइन है जिसके पहले आप अपनी एप्लीकेशन डाल रहे हो, ऑलवेज go create a word doc to saying whomsoever whatever, explain your situation saying I know this document is needed for this reason, I don't have this document at this time, please proceed with my application and as soon as I have it, I am going to send it to you because you always have an option of coming back, and आप उसके अंदर एक web form raise करके साथ में additional documents भेज सकते हो. So I think that is one thing and everybody should do because काफी बारी ऐसा होगा कि timeline होती है, deadlines होती हैं जिसके अंदर अंदर आपको चीजें submit करनी है. जो भी कभी भी कोई आपका application देखेगा, they always go through those documents, and there's been a personal experience for me also that so many times they'll review that you've said, you know, you're going to give this document. They'll send it, they'll saying, okay, please send it across as soon as you have it, whatever. And आपका वो review में चला जाता है. The moment you submit that, वो approve कर देते हैं.
Perfect. I think you've explained very briefly about the whole application process and about the visa process as well.
Yeah.
Now moving forward, you're in Canada. Take a couple steps back, and now you're in Canada. Of course, George Brown College is a vast campus. Of course, it would have been impressive. But where were you staying initially? On campus accommodation, off campus accommodation?
Good one. I think I would like people to know about this. So I was very lucky to have found this accommodation. I did figure out the George Brown thing, but abhi to I think the prices are much more crazier than they were in 2021. When I went, so a standard kind of room that you get or whatever, sharing room में ही होता है. So if you're going for student accommodation, वो फिर भी बहुत ज़्यादा streamlined होती है. You get your own room. Or you know, you get like a shared kind of apartment. It's going to be pretty decent. उसमें सब कुछ specified होता है, which is somewhere, or it was at that time around $900 to $1,200 a month.
Okay.
Which is like the standard उस time पे जो था. And there are very few people जो यहाँ से already लोगों को जानते हैं, या Facebook again, you know, people meet up with people कि हम apartment लेंगे, all that. But I don't really understand how that works to date because आप lease नहीं ले सकते without like income statements etc. You can't do all of that.
अच्छा.
तो और के पास अगर अपार्टमेंट लीज पे हो, आप उनके साथ रूम्स लेते हो फेसबुक पे कभी कभार, यू नो, आई एम ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम सो एंड सो डेट, आई एम गोइंग टू बी गोइंग टू दिस कॉलेज, विल यू रेंट आउट अ रूम टू मी? सो पीपल बेसिकली रेंट रूम्स टू यू. समटाइम्स इट कुड बी शेयरिंग अ रूम और समटाइम्स इट कुड जस्ट बी शेयरिंग एन अपार्टमेंट. उसका भी रेट ऑलमोस्ट द सेम था. सो आई यूज्ड टू फाइंड दैट क्वाइट अ लॉट ऑफ मनी बिकॉज biggest apartments in Canada are like 600-650 square feet, which is very tiny.
Yeah.
And then you have tiny rooms and people sharing like wo bhi, like you have to share a bed and stuff, and you're giving like $700-800 for that, which is approximately around 50,000-60,000 rupees a month, which is a lot. And at that time you don't really know if you earn anything, right? आपको पता नहीं किसी part time job के बारे में. So this all was quite irritating. And also another thing is Canada में आप एक GIC account set up करते हो. This is one of the things you do along with your visa. So they need you to submit $10,000. I think that's what it is. And depending on the bank you choose, either banks give you, so those $10,000 are yours, right? But the only thing is कि they need a proof कि जब तक आप अपने कोर्स में पढ़ोगे आपके पास ये funds इस बैंक में है to support your eating, your rent and all that. That's essentially what it's for.
Right.
So let's say you have, there are 2-3 banks that do it. मेरा Scotia था, तो Scotia में instead of, either they can dispense it every 30 days or 45 days. So if you take every 30 days, आपको automatically उस 10,000 में से, जैसे if it's मेरा 30 days था, तो I used to get $650 or so automatically to spend. And if you take it every 45 days, I think आपको 800 या 900 मिलता है.
अच्छा, okay.
तो essentially मेरे दिमाग में ये था कि जितना मुझे पता है exact I'm going to get money, right? उतने का मुझे accommodation मिल जाए, because ये वाला तो money I know for a fact, you know, I can give. And उतने की कुछ accommodation थी नहीं. So I still remember I had a friend and he basically used to live in this, so it was on Church and Girard. And ये सब की जो हमारा जॉर्ज ब्राउन का कैंपस था किंग स्ट्रीट वाला, वहां से हार्डली दिस वाज लाइक 5-10 minutes. And this is an old building. It's a student cooperation housing kind of thing called Neil Weissig. So Neil Weissig is like a holy grail. They don't advertise anywhere, nothing. It's basically word of mouth. If anybody does get in, like I was very very lucky to get in. Waiting is like 2 years, 3 years tops. And yeah, it's crazy, but prices are amazing. This entire building, from including your Wi-Fi, your electricity, parking, building amenities, everything is inclusive. And for your own room, you pay $500. That's it, and it includes everything.
500 Canadian dollars. That's all.
Yeah, And this is the cheapest in downtown. Like this is main
Of
downtown.
course.
This is where the intersection I was staying at. उससे 5 minutes दूर मेरा college था, and literally 2 minutes away, like second intersection पे I had Eaton Center.
Hmm.
So it was right near Dundas Square. The location is good, and everywhere, like everything was very nearby. It was a great location, and this was a steal.
That is a great information. I think people who are planning to study in Canada now can maybe try and refer to Neil Weizak, whatever Shubha told us.
Yeah, I think people should. It's a very simple kind of thing. You go
How many
online, they have a website.
how many rooms do these guys have?
Basically, it's a 20-floor building. This was essentially, they have like this really, really old videos from the 80s on YouTube. So this was always made as a concept for students to have everything cheaper because they're
Okay.
students.
Okay.
And this building is, so it's not fancy at all, okay? It's like a very, very old building. They keep redoing it and all that. It's like very basic. So there is different kinds of models that they have and wings. So let's say for me, I was in a 5-bedroom apartment where all
Yeah.
5 of us had separate rooms. Then there were
Okay.
2 washrooms and 1 massive kitchen and living room, which
Okay.
was common.
All right. All right.
So
Okay.
it's like that. And I shifted during that time. So what happens is every summer, half of the building becomes a backpacker hostel also.
Oh.
So what they do is they'll take any random 10 floors. So we have to move sometimes, right? So they moved us to a different wing, and I changed
Okay.
my house, which was even bigger. It was a 6-bedroom,
Okay.
but it was the room size were bigger, everything. That's just random according to
Yeah,
in which part of the building you are. And they made this a backpacker hostel. So even for people traveling who want to find like a cheaper place to stay, etc., they basically rent out our rooms on monthly basis or whatever. They do that.
Interesting.
So इसमें 6 months की lease होती है minimum. I had that. I still remember. So every unit has 1 massive room. Okay, like, and I'm talking about extremely massive room. Out of those 5, there's
Okay.
1 room at the end of the hall which is really very, very big.
Hmm.
But that's just 600 rupees, $600. Sorry, so just $100 upgrade, and that's just on luck. The waiting for these rooms is crazy. There's also like a studio apartment in this building. There's also a 2-bedroom in this building, but they will never be vacant. Like, you'll be very lucky if you find a room.
Yeah, of course.
And I experienced it every year.
How can one find out about it? Do they have a website? Do they have?
They do. So it's called Neil Weizak, NEILLWYCIK. So you just go to like neilweizak.com, and basically they have an application form. So the way it works is you basically put in like, if you're a smoker, non-smoker, if you sleep early, you listen to music, blah, 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 you give all your details. The one catch is you always have to give your credit card details. So because when they're going through, your application, if they have a room, they're directly going to charge your credit card, give you a room assignment, and then send you an email that, hi, you have been shortlisted, blah, 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 and this is your room. And your lease starts from this month. So it's not like you'll reach out to them and then, because I've recommended this place to a few people before, and everybody's like, but I'm not sure, agar maine kahin aur tab tak le liya, to how do I pay already for this place? And I was like, that's how it works, because the waiting is extreme. So you have to give them your credit card details. They, I think, do check in with you before they deduct the money, just to check if it's been very, very long since your application, because you also mentioned कि आप किस time के लिए ढूंढ रहे हो.
Right.
So that happens, but you have to do that. That's a chance that you take. You have to send them all your details.
But fair
And
enough.
get it.
Now your accommodation was sorted, but I
Yeah.
want to understand how much cash were you burning in a month? What is the optimum budget for any international student, any Indian student that is going to Canada?
See, now I personally, like, I can't say. Like, now it's crazy, because this is one of the reasons why I moved back. Like, in the 2 years that I was there, I've seen inflation rise so much, it was crazy. Like, for the same carton of milk, I was paying 3 times the price, for
Yeah.
McDonald's, etc. And even if it's like $2-3 or whatever, to see that kind of a hike is a lot. Like, it eventually adds up.
Right.
So at my time, frankly, for me, I had my GIC. So when you first arrive in Canada, that first time you go and open and activate your bank account, your GIC doesn't give you 600, it gives you $2,000.
Okay.
That's the first time. जब आप सबसे पहली बारी जाते हो,
हाँ,
2000 they give you, right? So any place, any accommodation, everything you do, आपको सबसे पहले उनको first and last देना होता है. This is a Canadian rule thing, right? तो आप अपना first भी rent देते हो as a security kind of, अपना last month का rent भी देते हो, और शायद security deposit भी देते हो थोड़ा बहुत.
अच्छा. Okay.
So I paid this place because it's not monthly initially. I paid them for the first 6 months.
Okay.
So I paid them around $3,500 सबसे पहले 6 महीने. And then, like, as I lived in the building, everybody is a student. That's the only rule. You need to be a student to be in the building. And I think I made so many friends, and they were like, you know, you don't have to bother. You don't have to now pay them again for the next 6 months. Just email them and say you want to pay them monthly.
Okay.
And they were cool about that. So then, after my 6-month lease ended with them, I would pay them monthly,
Okay. Okay.
which was cool.
Of course. Of course.
So that worked out, but iske alawa, I think at that time, so my GIC was coming, I would always pay my rent from that. From the
And
first,
your rent was to be specific.
my rent was hardly like $510 or something like that, and I had nothing on top of it. So my Wi-Fi, my hydro, water, electricity, everything was included in this. I was paying for nothing, and they also give you furniture. So you also get a bed, you get a desk, you get a wardrobe. So I never bought anything. Like, it's completely
Basically, you get a fully furnished flat, an apartment.
everything.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
you
a
only
good
get
amount.
like your utensils and all that, but yeah. So this was there already, and
500 Canadian dollars का rent हो गया. What about your groceries? What about your fooding habits? I'm sure you must be going out as well once in a while to have a couple of drinks, to dine out maybe. कितना मोटा खर्चा कितना होता है, and then एक महीने में कितना पूरा accumulated amount कितना है?
yeah, so I think people have managed this much better than I do in general. I cook a lot, and I do my own things.
That's great.
So I would do a lot of more groceries. Because like
Okay.
I wasn't the frozen kind of khane wala bacha, and I wouldn't just, you know, just pre-pack. Because a lot of people do that. Like you
Okay.
find a lot of deals also. Student deals हर restaurant पे भी होती हैं. So certain days or like certain timings, you know, $10 में आपको ड्रिंक भी मिलेगा, उसके साथ में स्नैक भी मिलेगा, उसके साथ में रोल भी मिलेगा. Like they do all these things for students all the time. So I didn't really do any of that. So my grocery bill, I think, was around $250 or so a month, easy. Initial days.
अच्छा, ठीक है. Okay.
Initial days वो होता ही होता था, and I would get everything. I'm including like इसके अंदर from meats to, you know, everything. And I would go out a lot also, but उसमें भी there's a lot of options. Like Tuesdays movies is half off, and like your banks give you a lot of these cards that have benefits for the same. So all that helps. But yeah, like I would go out also काफी, but 2021 I'm talking about, and I think inflation at that time was fine. So I never struggled as much. The first month itself, I got a job at a restaurant. I was a host.
Right.
And I remember making, because you're only allowed to do 20 hours, so a month I used to make $1,500.
That's a great amount. I mean, you are burning somewhere around 800 Canadian dollars because 500 तुम्हारा rent हो गया, 50 तुम्हारा groceries के bill हो गए. Let's add 50 or 100 more dollars to it. Somewhere around
Conveyance is very expensive. I think लोग conveyance पे बहुत पैसे डालते हैं.
अच्छा.
But at the time for me, because I was not going to college every day, so that I was saving. But conveyance is a big factor. So I would say your TTC, because it's only valid for 3 hours, when you tap once, it's $3. Right? उसके अलावा, because, and this is just the normal TTC. So this is like subway and your streetcar. When you take buses and all, it's like $10, $6, depending on like your destination and all that. So wherever you're going and coming from, आप दिन का 20 भी बच्चे easily 20 to 30 भी spend करते हैं, and there's no other way.
Right. Okay.
So conveyance is 200, 300.
Okay. So will you say in a month an international student would require at least $1,000 mote to just survive?
More than that, yeah. More than that, easy. More than that, because I'm talking about a kind of accommodation that doesn't exist. This is a 0.5% chance of getting into this building, which is also, because it's very limited accommodation, this is not for everybody. If I'm talking about other places I know, which are not your college student accommodation, but separate student accommodations, they are very, very expensive also. If you want to rent a room from people also, it's different. And for me, I stayed in this building for a year. Then I leased out my own apartment.
Okay.
So I had my own apartment. I did the entire thing. I furnished it and this and that. And I'm giving maintenance also now, hydro, electricity, Wi-Fi, everything. I have rented out my place also to people, and it's highly expensive. So I am talking about $1,000 तो हम मेरे situation में 2021 में बोल रहे हैं, जिसमें my accommodation was easy. If you're talking about just a standard kind of thing, I think 2,000 तो आपके जाते ही जाते हैं महीने के, like उससे कम में आप नहीं सोच सकते. I know people who are either very extreme in terms of, doing two jobs and they're working. And then hamare time pe bhi, I had people
How
from my
many
class,
how many jobs were you doing? How many part-time
just
jobs?
one.
Just one. And okay, what was that job about? Where were you working?
I was first working in a restaurant only, like I said, as a host. So
Yeah.
that was my first job. And I
And you were
honestly would
making
recommend
you were
to do one
making
only.
15. Acha.
नहीं, because honestly, because what students forget is आप वहाँ काम करने नहीं गए हो, आप पढ़ने गए हो. So yours, it's not like Indian education. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. आपको पढ़ना होता है. Attendance also matters. A lot of people, because this is something I faced. मेरी class में, like George Brown में इतने ज़्यादा Indians नहीं होते पूरे time. So we had a mixed kind of crowd. उसमें
Okay.
भी, like even when I went to work and all, I've met people there जिनको बिल्कुल भी English बोलनी नहीं आती. जो generally language में struggle करते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा. और अगर आप पढ़ने आ रहे हो, because you're coming here with an IELTS and all that, the professors there are expecting you to know basic English, obviously, क्योंकि आप उनकी language में ही पढ़ोगे. And when you're not focusing, आप समझ नहीं रहे हो, आप उसके बाद 2 jobs करने जा रहे हो, ठीक है? A shift is like anywhere from 4 to 5 hours. If you're working 10 hours, and then, you want to do assignments also, even if you get good friends who help you out with all that,
Yeah.
it's not great. So when you're going to study, if your parents can help you out कि आपको बिल्कुल ही काम ना करना पड़े and you're doing difficult courses, तब तो definitely you should not work at all.
Okay.
If at all you want to work, because I know a lot of people who go there for like undergrad 3 साल के लिए,
Right.
and because they like doing part time also, but then आप part time के लिए हमेशा अपनी availability देते हो लोगों को. So either just do weekends, do Saturday, Sunday, full day also when you have your time free or whatever. But like then kids have to kind of spread it out, because आप 2 jobs कर रहे हो, you get super tired. You come back home, you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to do a lot of things, and that's not what you went to do.
Right. The priorities are changing basically, unintentionally. Now, I have one more question. I've seen a lot of Canadian students doing random part-time jobs which are somewhere not at all interconnected with whatever course they're doing, right? I want to ask, is there any way, let's say you were studying marketing, right? Was there any way for you कि तुम marketing field की ही कोई job लो या फिर somewhere related to management or business?
See, I did that, but that was very hard. Like this is also a rarity. Like my situation is not, I think, the best example for a lot of people, because मैंने अपने आसपास भी कितने सारे लोगों से ऐसा कभी देखा नहीं है. For me, because I like food and all that, जब मैं यहाँ से गई थी initially पहले महीने में तो obviously मुझे कुछ भी नहीं मिलने वाला था ऐसा company में job. I personally, because of अपनी part time भी choose करते हो, like a lot of kids, like to do grocery stores or this or that and all that, आप कर सकते हो. I always wanted to work in a restaurant only. मुझे वो था, I wanted to try, either I wanted to try for bartending or I wanted to just kind of figure out this जो भी है आपका waiter का and all that, and that's also the highest paid part time there is.
Okay.
तो आपके hours कम होते हैं but आपको tips मिलती हैं.
Right.
And वो ऊपर change होता है, because उसके अलावा भी you're giving the same number of hours anywhere, पर आपको minimum wage ही मिलता है हर जगह. So that was also a factor, and I remember the first month also, because मैंने पहले 15 दिन काम नहीं करा, because when you want to work in the hospitality field, you first have to get a smart serve. So it's an exam. You pay like around $50 for it. आप online एक course लेते हो, उसमें आप exam देते हो, because you have to know exactly how food is served, and if you're serving alcohol to somebody, so how to judge उनकी age, everything is your responsibility.
Right.
And you give an exam, and then they give you like this license number, and a card comes to your address.
Okay.
Then you're certified to be a
Okay.
server.
Okay.
So I did all that, and I wanted to go into this field only. So I used
But
to work
that's
in
very
that
nice.
restaurant. Like I used to work in this restaurant, and it was fine. Restaurants also extremely exhausting work. आपका पूरा time, physical labor. There's a lot that you do, and I was doing this like 3 times a week or whatever, like जो भी shifts होती थी normal. And उसके अलावा I would study.
Okay.
And I was not going to college. I was at home. I would chill. जो भी normal था.
That's great. Now, let's move ahead from the part-time jobs. Let's come to the actual crux, which depicts the ROI of studying abroad as well, which is the full-time job prospect, right? Now, my first question would be, in your particular program, what would have been the median package or the maximum package of your seniors or maybe of your own batch? If you can tell us something about that. George Brown से कितना कमा सकते हैं हम?
Yeah, so frankly, it never depends on the course you do. It genuinely doesn't matter. If you would talk about just generally, because they are not really considering your Indian experience at all. So based on like your interview or whatever conversation you have with them, or किसने आपको refer करा है, आप कहाँ conversation क्या कर रहे हो, I think starting from what I've seen across all my friends there, different universities, different backgrounds, starting is somewhere around, let's say, a 35 to 40K a year.
Okay.
For any course, it doesn't really matter. आपकी luck पे depend करता है वो जो होता है. When I started with around a 45. And उससे पहले ये था कि तो ideal part time में क्या होता है, आप बहुत कोशिश करते हो कि आपके hours निकले. For me, because I was going to this restaurant, a friend of mine जिनके साथ मैं रहती ही होती थी उस time पे in this accommodation, he used to work for an agency.
Okay.
And because unki agency was very small, it was like this startup kind of thing, and I requested him to set an interview up for me for a part-time position in that thing. So because I got that job as a marketing person in that agency only, so I left my restaurant job, and then uske andar ye tha ki because you're on contract now for 20 hours a week. So I know that I am always going to get paid 1500 जो मेरा exact है, मुझे उतना मिलेगा ही मिलेगा, because now I am on payroll. That just happened to a friend. So if people know of such things, instead of trying to talk to people of कि आप transport चला लो और आप Walmart में लग जाओ ये वो, people should always keep trying कि किसी के through आपको कोई job अगर मिल जाए, because बहुत लोग international students hire करते हैं. I didn't have a very smooth experience with this employer. तो वो भी एक जरूर रहते हैं चीजें when you are going for like startups and smaller people, because काफी सारी चीजें पेपर वर्क के टर्म्स में बहुत ज्यादा क्लियर नहीं होती हैं. तो पैसे आपको मिलते हैं, but paperwork wise they might exploit you, and in terms of work and all also difficult हो सकता है. So you have to be careful on all those things. But I basically got that first job from a friend of mine. Co-op was nearing at that time, and frankly I don't know if this was because we were not on campus, but college doesn't really help you with co-op.
अच्छा, okay.
आप देख सकते हो लॉग इन करके जॉर्ज ब्राउन में कि हाँ they are listing companies and this and that also happens on and off, but वहाँ पे यही कल्चर है कि यहाँ वाला प्लेसमेंट का नहीं है कि आपको लोग आके बोलेंगे आज ये कंपनी आ रही है, आप सब लोग बैठो और आप इंटरव्यू दो.
That is the same story for all the countries, for all the global universities.
Everywhere, yeah.
Networking plays a role, an important role, when you're trying to get a job. Anyways, I want to ask, how many applications did you have to do initially to get your first job or to get your first revert in Canada for the full-time job? Was it a high number? Yeah, average tha?
Again, I think I'm the worst person to ask this, because for
you
me,
have all the rare experiences.
Yeah, like I have not struggled in Canada personally, not at all. तो मेरा experience बिल्कुल भी जैसे normal बच्चों का होता है वो नहीं रहा है, and I feel like कि बच्चे struggle करते हैं काफी ज़्यादा. I've seen that for a lot of my friends also, but sometimes I think it's because of your own silly mistakes. Like काफी बारी even at the airport and all, right, they're so scared when you're about to approach the counter, and they'll be asking you कि ये होगा होगा, and I'm like मतलब they're just gonna ask you things that you know about your life, like इसमें क्या problem है, nothing's wrong is not gonna happen. But I don't know यहाँ से क्या सोच के जाते हैं, and the language thing is a major thing. That is something that makes them insecure. A lot of people I've met there don't speak English properly, don't write it properly. These things obviously ये इस चीज के लिए image भी खराब है, इस चीज के लिए problem होती है. Other than that, for me, I remember I changed my resume. I added my college and all that. I added the availability thing you always have to add to your part-time resume when you can work and all that. And I had these printouts taken, and I went around. Like मुझे ये था कि walking distance होना चाहिए मेरा काम.
Okay.
So everywhere in walking distance, all restaurants, everything I could find, I went in and I gave them my resume, and I asked if I could meet the manager. So the first day I went out doing this, within 3 hours I had my first job. And they told me कि आप Monday से आ जाना. That was it. That's how I got my first job.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was super easy. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था. That hiring manager was there. He was free. He met me. हुआ बात हुई and all that. They were like, okay, you come and all that. And the next week I was working. For the second job, my roommate I asked him to set up an interview. Similar interview हुआ, उनसे बात हुई. We spoke about stuff I did in India, this and that यहाँ पर. And he gave me a job, so I left the other one. I started working from home for this agency. And ये भी ये था कि because I was on contract with them, I was put on different projects for. So I with them also I worked for US based firms etc. because हम agency wise उनकी चीजें manage करते थे. So they had multiple projects going on. And let's say I was put on one project for a second, तो ऐसे था. Then co-op started and मेरे लिए मुझे पता था कि बेस्ट यही होगा कि मुझे co-op सेम जगह में मिल जाए. क्योंकि co-op में भी आप फिर स्ट्रगल करते हो. Co-op is never paid usually.
अच्छा, okay.
Co-op usually is companies do give out, like major banks and all also give out co-ops, but they are not paid at all. उसमें ये होता है कि आपको एक्सपीरियंस मिल रहा है और आपको वो co-op की जो भी आपकी गाइडलाइंस मिलती हैं कॉलेज से भी कि your co-op should give you this much experience and इतने hours होने चाहिए, ये वो सब होता है उसके अंदर. You have to satisfy that, but the employer may or may not pay you. तो yeah, co-op is not necessarily paid. So I was like, if मुझे यहीं पे मिल जाती है co-op, so he just needs to renew my contract into like a co-op thing, and then he needed to sign certain things for the college, which he did, and I got my co-op there. By this time, I had worked for this company also for like 4-5 months. So college was ending, co-op was ending, and co-op के बाद आप अपने work permit के लिए apply करते हो.
अच्छा.
तो work permit के लिए apply करने के time पे it helps if you already have a offer in hand.
अच्छा, okay.
क्योंकि आप वर्क परमिट पे ना आपको ऑप्शन मिलता है टू से इफ इट इज एन ओपन वर्क परमिट और इट्स अ स्पेसिफाइड वर्क परमिट फॉर दिस एम्प्लॉयर और व्हाटएवर इट इज, एंड दे आस्क यू बिकॉज उतना ही जल्दी भी आता है कभी कभार. क्योंकि टेक्निकली बिटवीन द टाइम वेयर योर कॉलेज का लास्ट डेट हैपेंस एंड दे गिव यू योर ग्रेजुएशन एंड योर वर्क परमिट कम्स, बिटवीन दैट टाइम जितने भी दिन है इट्स इलीगल टू वर्क.
ओके, ऑलराइट.
यू कैन नॉट वर्क एट ऑल. तो मुझे ये था कि यार नो एम्प्लॉयर गिव्स यू एन ऑफ आल्सो दैट वे, एंड वर्क परमिट भी आता है. तो इन प्रिंसिपल ये होता है कि आप और दिस एवरीथिंग एवरीबडी शुड फॉलो दिस. जब आपका कॉलेज का लास्ट डे है, उस लास्ट डे जब आप अपना एग्जाम देते हो लास्ट, उससे पहले आपको अपनी ऑनलाइन एप्लीकेशन इन प्रिंसिपल फॉर योर वर्क परमिट शुड बी सबमिटेड एट ऑल कॉस्ट.
अच्छा.
if let's say your college is ending on 30th of January और आपने 29 जनवरी को ऑनलाइन एप्लीकेशन डाल दिया है टू गिव यू अ वर्क परमिट, देन यू कैन स्टिल बी वर्किंग बिकॉज आपने अपनी तरफ से यू आर ऑन एन अप्लाइड स्टेटस नाउ.
ओके.
तो यू आर सेफ. बट अगर आपने अप्लाई नहीं किया है, यू आर वेटिंग टू गेट अ जॉब एंड देन आप बाद में करो, बट यू आर वर्किंग इन द मिडल ऑल दैट इज कंप्लीटली इलीगल इफ एट ऑल एनीबडी फाइंड्स आउट अबाउट थिंग्स लाइक दिस, बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल आल्सो वर्क ऑन कैश एंड ये सब बहुत गड़बड़ होती है. सो इफ पीपल आर डूइंग दैट, इफ एनीबडी कैचेस यू डूइंग दैट, यू माइट नॉट गेट योर सिटीजनशिप.
तो ऐसे केसेस हुए हैं अराउंड यू?
Yeah. The guy that helped me get this job at this agency, he was from Brazil, and उनका यही सीन था that he was here for a course which was for 1 year, and he was working at this company with me, and he wanted an extension to his work permit or whatever, and we told him कि you haven't applied for this, it's about to expire and you're still working, it might be an issue. And apparently he had a different kind of visa. It depends, for different countries it's very different.
Okay.
Visa processes are not the same for everybody.
Yeah.
So from Brazil, I think he needed some kind of LMI or something, for which a lot of employers don't want to sponsor you and all that. I've heard people do this, that you have to pay your employer like $5,000, $10,000, and then they give you a manager position also, they'll sponsor you, they'll give you all the paperwork and all that happens. I haven't seen that personally, but he got deported.
Okay, all right. Deportation is something that is way too frequent for immigrants, I guess.
Yeah.
And recent updates about Canada and the Indian and the Canada situation is again worsening. Why are you back now in India, and what are your plans ahead?
So for me, I was planning to stay longer. Like I was qualified for my PR, etc. I still am. I just personally feel when I was there, one thing for me, जो चीजें यहाँ से लोग नहीं बोलते, like India में there's a very flowery picture of going to Canada, and every single person is going to Canada. The only thing is there's a lot of factors, like staying there. For me, I had a very good job, बाद में भी. And I have never really had a break between both jobs, and like house and everything was fine. One thing is the inflation was very high, so I feel like for me, my salary within a year had tripled. I
Okay.
was now making close to about $5,000 a month.
Hmm.
And even though my rent obviously had also increased and all that,
Hmm.
everything was perfectly fine. But जैसे मैं grocery आपको बता रही थी पहले, अगर पूरे महीने का 200 था, now
Hmm.
I was paying that for every 10-15 days. And
Hmm.
now my office was in Mississauga. I was traveling by bus, so my conveyance was around 350-400. That
हाँ.
was there.
Hmm.
Then सब कुछ मिला के, like there were times where you're working the entire day. Like by this time I had 13-14 hour work days with travel and this and that.
Hmm.
My days are very hectic, and वापस आके it's like even if on the weekend and all you want to do something, तो अगर आप कहीं जाना चाहते हो, कुछ करोगे, and you're spending $100-200 in a
Hmm.
month just to go out for a movie, for dinner, whatever,
Hmm.
you'll end up having no savings at all. Like hardly you will have any money left. And I used to feel like after working so much also, my savings are absolutely zero. So
Yeah.
maybe one mistake I made was I could have stuck to my first accommodation
Hmm.
because my salary increased a lot and मैंने अपना rent भी बहुत उसके साथ बढ़ा लिया. But it's just that I feel कि वो भी यार, you stay with 5-6 people in one house,
Yeah.
so it gets a lot, and then you have to share your kitchen. Everybody's cleanliness is different. Everybody's situation is very different. So you want to get out of things like that. But one thing I think was inflation for sure. The second is, even though I've been very lucky to have very good friends, my work environment was very good.
Hmm.
Everything that way was great. There's 6-7 months of like literally no sunlight. There's literally weather people don't talk
Yeah.
about, but
Hmm.
it is very harsh, and it's
Okay.
not like you don't get used to the snow and all that. Sunlight is a very major part of
Yeah.
how
Of
you
course.
feel. And
Of course.
Canada in general, the houses and all, for some reason I don't know why they do this, but except for your washrooms and your kitchens, they don't have ceiling lights anywhere, not even bedrooms.
Okay.
There's no built-in lights.
Okay.
So anywhere you'll go, you have to have lamps that you buy. And lamps आप घर में कितने भी लगाओगे, उसकी एक limited light होती है, right?
Right.
So
Right.
उसमें ये है कि you come back home around 5 o'clock, it's already dark.
Yeah.
So by the time you get home from work, it used to be very empty, very dull all the time. And this happens like Christmas time tak it's all fine. You're happy and all because there's a lot happening at that
Yeah.
time. उसके बाद January, February, March, April, May तक भी कभी कभार there's the last snow. So that weather really gets to you, and even if you want to go somewhere, you want to do certain things, meet friends also, people are so lazy, nobody wants to get out of their house.
Right.
Nobody wants to interact, and that gets a lot. Unless and
Life
until
becomes very dull.
it is dull that way. I also like I'm engaged, so there when my fiance was also there with me initially for a bit, and then he moved back to India also. तो फिर ऐसा होता है कि वहां पर तो यही सिस्टम है, either you have partner with you,
Okay.
that you have somebody you're coming home to, or you are like 3-4 people living in one house and you have a very good vibe. तो आपको
Right.
पता है कि आप पूरा टाइम आपके पास अपना कुछ है.
Right.
Then
Right.
as long as work is good and you're coming and meeting people, because in 3-4 people then you're always dividing your expenses and all also. Maybe you're not thinking as
Right.
much going
Right.
out and all that also.
Right.
So
Right.
those
Right.
things really matter. And eventually us time pe there was a lot of riots also. I don't know why happening, which I didn't expect to see in Canada, because you avoid these things in India. That was happening also. And with the India relations and all also बहुत होता है. Plus with COVID, the way they've handled the visa situation is something I genuinely am so upset about, because you're staying away from home. Your
Right.
visa processes take months to come with like no revert, no matter how many times you'll reach out. So even when I was there, अब आप पहले वहां पर हो, आपको बीच में कोई छुट्टी नहीं मिलती. So because you do a PGDM course, there is no vacation. आपका क्योंकि वो 8 महीने, यूजुअली सारे कोर्सेज 12 महीने के ही होते हैं, आपको 8 महीने के कोर्स में कोई बीच की हॉलीडे ब्रेक नहीं होती है. दे काउंट एवरीथिंग एंड इट्स अ 8 month थिंग. मेरे में कोऑप भी था तो वो 4 महीने और हो गए.
Right.
तो 12 महीने आपका एग्जैक्ट कोर्स है. उसके बाद व्हेन यू अप्लाई फॉर वर्क परमिट, यू कैन नॉट ट्रैवल आउट ऑफ द कंट्री. फिर वर्क परमिट आपका आता है, वो स्टैम्प होता है, सब होता है, वो सब आता है. उसके लिए मैंने वेट करा है 6 महीने और तो वर्क परमिट आ गया. दैट इज इट. बिकॉज कोऑप वगैरह का तो जब आप लैंड करते हो कनाडा में, आपको एयरपोर्ट पे फर्स्ट टाइम दैट यू कम इनसाइड द कंट्री, आपका एप्लीकेशन वगैरह देख के और वीजा देख के आपका जब इंटरव्यू होता है आप एयरपोर्ट पे, दे ऑलरेडी गिव यू योर वर्क परमिट, योर स्टडी परमिट, एवरीथिंग इन हैंड. ऑल योर ऑफिशियल डॉक्यूमेंट्स आर गिवन टू यू. उसके अलावा दिस टुक सो लॉन्ग, द अदर वर्क परमिट टू कम, देन यू कांट ट्रैवल. फिर आपका वर्क परमिट आ गया है. अब दे से कि आप 2 हफ्ते से ज्यादा अगर कंट्री के बाहर जाओगे तो आपका वो 1 month PR में से कट जाएगा. तो
Okay.
अब अगर आप काम कर रहे हो तो आप एक साल अब फिर से you have to be here. So this is such a bad cycle that so many times you'll ask people, and for 2 years, 2.5, 3 years, they've been there at a stretch now.
Right.
जिसमें
So,
आप कहीं नहीं जा सकते, कुछ नहीं कर सकते, वो बहुत खिचपिच है, and most of it is to do with documents.
Okay. So all in all, now are you happy that you're back in India? I'm assuming that India में माहौल ज़्यादा अच्छा है, of course. It is
They're
not as
obviously
like
their
over there.
families and everything, and you have comfort and all that, because also a lot of us that are in Canada are first world citizens in our own country, right? And हमारे पास बहुत ही comfort है. तो ये तो I remember because I stayed with so many Canadians also कि they used to find it surprising कि हम लोग बहुत spoiled हैं. But you know, we would tell them कि we've never washed dishes at home, या मतलब हम ये सब काम नहीं करते घर पे, and they're like, who does it? And we're like, नहीं, हो जाता है, like, you know, either you have house help or your parents help you out या जो भी है.
Exactly.
And
इंडिया में
these
तो सब कुछ मिलेगा ना, मतलब हाउस हेल्प
exactly
मिलेगा, तुम्हारी गाड़ी खराब हुई है तो प्लम्बर कह रहा हूँ, तुम्हारी गाड़ी खराब हुई तो मैकेनिक
mechanic,
आ जाएगा, तो
yeah,
सब कुछ ही है, कंफर्ट है.
absolutely.
But
हाँ.
will you now suggest people to who are planning to go to Canada? Is it worth going to Canada for higher studies? What's the situation? ROI basis क्या है तुम्हारे दिमाग में? What is your perspective now?
For me, for undergrad, nobody should go at all. क्योंकि
Okay.
undergrad तो दो तीन, I don't think they have except for UBC और University of Toronto, जो कि बहुत ही selective लोग जाते हैं. इन दोनों Ivy League colleges के अलावा ऐसा कोई great college नहीं है जिसके लिए आप लाखों दोगे वहाँ जाके पढ़ने के लिए. You can do that same thing in your own country. I don't recommend going for undergrad at all to anybody. Masters के लिए yes, absolutely you can go, because eventually Canada में ये जरूर है that there's a lot of big brands, there's a lot of US based companies etc. So the kind of opportunities you get you know, studying there or just living there, आपको ऐसी बहुत MNCs, बहुत बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी के साथ काम करने का चांस मिलेगा जो इंडिया में बहुत मुश्किल होता है. लाइक बहुत ही गिने चुने लोग इंडिया में MNCs या बहुत अच्छे कंपनीज के साथ काम करते हैं.
अच्छा.
So that is an opportunity that you can get to work etc. But also, like, given my experience, I would not say everybody is also built to go abroad. There's a lot of people I've met there जिनके पास इंडिया में बहुत ही कम opportunities थी. They've come from very very small towns. They have not seen that kind of life, and for them, I don't think they'll ever want to come back. Like, they're not going to agree with a lot of things I am saying. क्योंकि उनके लिए मतलब वो best life जी रहे हैं वहाँ पर. But a lot of people going thinking it's going to be fun and ये and वो, it's not like that. So I feel like a lot of people, even on YouTube, it's so saturated now, the kind of videos going to it, Canada, packing for Canada, this, that. The excitement and everything that's shown, that's very, you know, it's true only to an extent. For me, like, I've literally not had any bad experience there. My life was super easy. I've always gotten all my jobs, money, everything sorted. I've not had issues. But I've seen people really struggle, get those things. तो especially ये जो एक, you know, पंजाब culture भी थोड़ा है of कि कोई भी अपनी IELTS के scores गड़बड़ करते हैं, people go and all that. You can go there, but eventually, you know, when you're outside with your friends, it's not just Brampton. Brampton, चलो फिर भी, you know, they all speak Hindi and all, so you'll get by. But when you want to do jobs and you want to get out and you want to do this, genuinely there's a lot of struggle just to communicate basic things and do that. And why would you want to subject yourself to that kind of life जहाँ आप लोगों से communicate नहीं कर पा रहे ढंग से, या people are looking down on you for all that and आप struggle कर रहे हो. And even, you know, other things like cleaning and a lot of people don't even anticipate basic things like that. Ki how responsible you'll have to be to take care of your own house, clean your dishes, wash your clothes,
Of
you know,
course,
manage a lot of things.
The reality is simple. You are going to start your life from zero in a foreign land. So
Absolutely.
challenges भी वैसे ही रहेंगे. Okay.
हाँ.
Now, I think you've briefly explained everything, and you've told the viewers a lot of insights about George Brown, about Canada, and about all the rare experiences that you've had. To end this whole conversation, let's play a rapid fire round. My only request to you is just be a little rapid in your answers.
Okay.
And cool. My first question. Your favorite hangout spot at or around George Brown College?
So I didn't really go to college, but my favorite generally spot I would say is Penny's.
Okay, what is Penny's?
Penny's is this little bar around King Street, which is basically literally like they have free popcorn in the house. They have everything, like the cheapest food and the cheapest
Hmm.
drinks you would get in all of downtown Toronto.
Perfect, perfect. If you ever had a chance to change anything about George Brown College, what would that be?
I don't know, this is tough. George Brown, I think with social activities they could be better. We never had any.
Acha, okay, ठीक है. Now, how was the diversity of your college, and what ethnicity was the maximum present over there? Indians ही सबसे ज़्यादा present है George Brown में?
Indians, in terms of majority, I would say yes, but I would still say we had a really great mix as compared to other colleges because from what I've heard, 80-90% is usually Indians and you
Yeah, yeah.
hardly have anything else. We
Hmm.
pretty much had people from every country, so it was a good mix.
Okay, okay. Tell me one pro and a con about your program.
So the pro, I think, is that the course is very well recognized. You know, a lot of people appreciate that on your resume. It will get you for interviews, etc. Alumni is pretty good. Con is just that I would say all the practical courses. I think the kind of delivery method, etc., could be slightly more interactive because it's just them telling us step by step what to do, which is not really helpful.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Does George Brown help you in getting placed in any of the companies?
No. So in my experience, I would say no, they don't. Like, there's a lot of lot of courses in terms of how to draft emails and this and that and how to present yourself. They're
Right.
not really going to give you opportunities or get you companies at all. That's
Okay.
rare. So you would have to do the work yourself.
Okay. Are career fairs of any use?
I haven't been to one ever, even in
Okay.
Canada.
Cool. Now, out of 10, try and rate George Brown College.
8.5.
Why are you cutting 1.5?
It's just my personal experience. Like, I never actually went to college. A lot of things I did were online, so I haven't really been in the building and like been able to use a lot of the facilities and all that. So maybe just because of that.
Cool, perfect. I think we are done, Shubha. Thank you so much for giving us your
Thank
time.
you.
And this whole conversation was pretty insightful. I hope हमारे viewers को काफी चीजों के बारे में पता लगा हो George Brown College के. And yes, you have a great life ahead. And
You
do you want to give a last advice to our viewers जो इस वक्त maybe plan कर रहे हैं कहीं भी US जाने का, UK जाने का, Canada जाने का, कहीं भी?
My only advice would be that don't kind of follow in anybody's footsteps at all. Just try to see everything. Particularly, it's not grass is kind of always greener, so don't always hope bahar jana is fun and all that. It's a lot of money, lot of effort, and it's not everybody's piece of cake. So just that.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Shubha, for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was everything about Subha and her journey of studying in Canada. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, comment section में type करो. If you want to study in Canada as well, if you want to explore George Brown University in a deeper manner, description box में just click on the first link, connect with our expert counselors, get all your queries resolved ASAP. See you in the next video. This is Swapnil signing out. Bye.